Good morning. Hey, how are you? I'm Matt Barrie. Welcome into the first ever edition of a Sunday show that I think is going to get us all through football season together. It's called Sunday Bloody Sunday. Well, Matt, why is it called Sunday Bloody Sunday? Well, because you see it right here. We will sit here together. It's kind of a therapy session. It's very therapeutic. We're going to sit here with Bloody Marys. We're going to break down the Saturday that was in college football. Now, there are a couple of rules during Sunday Bloody Sunday. Part one, no judgment. We all went through Saturday together. Some of us happy, some of us not, most of us tired. We will not judge what the host looks like on Sunday morning. I arrived in studio yesterday at about 11 a.m., got home at around 2:45 a.m. It is a long, fun day of college football. So there will be no judgment of anyone here on Sunday Bloody Sunday because it's college football. It's fun. There's pain, there's agony, there's celebration, there's laughter. There's crying, although if you're crying after week one, we can revisit that at some point because it's a long season. And another rule, we're going to share with each other our favorite Bloody Mary elixir, additives, anything you want that's going to make this special for you and me and everyone. I'll start this week. You can hit me up on social media when this post on the college football YouTube channel. Give me your suggestions. I'll give you mine. Big Bloody Mary guy on Sunday mornings, especially after a long college football Saturday. We will call this, I'm going to call this every week, the toothpick of greatness, because on the toothpick of greatness, you will see there are so many things that add to the experience of the Bloody Mary. Today's toothpick of amazingness, what did I call it? See, I've already lost my mind. Either way, the toothpick of greatness has this today on the first edition of Bloody Sunday. Jalapeno stuffed olive gives it just a good enough kick and a nice olive to start the flavorful part of the Bloody Mary. We've got pepperoni. That's right, pepperoni on the toothpick of greatness. A little pickle, cornichon. How you help me out? How we doing those? The pronunciation, I think it's cornichon or cornichon. Either way, little pickle. Got a peppercini and some Applewood smoked bacon today on the toothpick of greatness. Within the Bloody Mary, I've got some asparagus in there, some pickled asparagus to stir it around, a little bit of sriracha, and a Cajun Bloody Mary mix. So that's what I will be going with. Cheers on today's Sunday Bloody Sunday as we break down week one of the college football season. Now, here's what I want to do. Because I'm calling Thursday night college football on ESPN, there are days where I will work backwards. This will be one of those days when I start with Thursday night college football. Myself, Lewis Riddick, making our debut along with Harry Lyles. We were at the 105th edition of the Backyard Brawl. It is an example to everyone, everywhere. Conference realignment. I don't care who you blame or why it's happening. College football rivalries need to be preserved at any costs. They hadn't played that game in 11 years, and it was an absolute instant classic. Pitt ended up coming back and winning. They scored 2 touchdowns in 43 seconds. It was absolutely incredible. West Virginia played a hell of a football game. They are going to be a good football team. I'm here to tell you West Virginia is good. Pittsburgh is good. Keaton Slovis is a great fit. The defense looked great. Rodney Hammond ran the ball well. Both of those teams are going to have really good seasons. So I want to congratulate both West Virginia and Pitt on a remarkable return to the Backyard Brawl. I had an epic voice crack.
Daniel's going to throw on first down, goes to the sidelines, has a man wide open, it's tipped, and picked off! MJ Devonshire, Scott Bass, he's going to take it to the end zone! Pittsburgh takes the lead! You have got to be kidding me!
Calling the game because it was just so exciting. So thank you to everyone who was involved in the Backyard Brawl. I thought it was remarkable, and I'm glad to see that it's back in college football. We'll get to Saturday now. And listen, if you thought at any point, the noon games, there wasn't really one that stood out, you were wrong, because if you hung out with me long enough yesterday, the noon window provided 2 of the craziest games I've seen when it's 2 schools from the same state playing. North Carolina State and East Carolina. North Carolina State, by the way, had to go to Greenville and play East Carolina. And North Carolina had to go to Appalachian State, Boone, North Carolina. And both of them are playing in the noon window. And both of those games got Bloody Mary drunk by the end of it. It was absolutely amazing watching how both of them, the drama started to build up. North Carolina State comes in with a world of expectations. Preseason ranked 13. They got a great quarterback back in Devin Leary. Dave Dorn's got that program built at a good level right now. They got everything they got. They got everything they needed from East Carolina. And it ended up coming down to a kicker, which I don't like because I think kickers get a lot of pressure and a lot of criticism put on them. That can be the hero, or they can be a GOAT, not the good one, not the greatest of all time, with a matter of one kick of their right leg. It happened yesterday to East Carolina's kicker, Owen Daffer. Missed an extra point to make it 21-20. Had an opportunity to kick the game-winning field goal, and he came up and he missed it wide right, and North Carolina survived. North Carolina State rather survived. It was an absolute remarkable game. On the other end of it, there was a touchdown seemingly every 20 seconds in Boone in the fourth quarter. Listen to this. This stat is amazing to me. Appalachian State scored 40 points in the fourth quarter. 40. North Carolina scored 22. Add them up, 62 points in the fourth quarter. Absolutely crazy how many points were scored in the fourth quarter in that game. North Carolina's defense wasn't good. It didn't matter. The 2-point conversion with Chase Bryce was all they needed to stop. It was basically last stop gets the win, and North Carolina was able to do that. And Mac Brown and the Tar Heels get out of there with a 63-61 win. But credit Appalachian State, Sean Clark, their head coach. He's got a good thing going there in the Sun Belt. They've got two really good running backs in Nate Noel and Cam Peoples. Chase Bryce looked good. Everybody looked good. Like Gene Chizik knows that yesterday wasn't exactly a Picasso on defense, but you get out of Boone with a win. If you haven't seen the highlights of that, our ESPN College Football YouTube channel does a remarkable job of putting up highlights from games the night before. I would implore you to look at both of those highlights because both of those games, great ways to start the college football Saturday during that noon window. If I move to the 3:30 window, there was a lot of hype on Georgia, Oregon, and rightfully so. Georgia's the defending national champions. Oregon hires a new coach in Dan Lanning, Mario Cristobal down at Miami, and he comes in with a roster that, based on what Mario Cristobal did, there's a lot of talent. Mario recruits well. Cupboard wasn't exactly bare in Eugene. They bring in Bo Nix from Auburn. And Bo typically in his career while at Auburn has struggled against Georgia. And I don't want to make this all about Bo Nix and what he didn't do. The story for me in this one is how good Georgia still is. They lost so many players to the NFL draft. Forgive me if this statistic is wrong, but I want to say it was 17 players from last year's roster are now in the NFL. So one would think that if you lose that much talent, maybe it's a rebuild year. Maybe he's got to find some guys with experience to put that in place. It wasn't the case. Georgia was absolutely dominant from start to finish, which is scary because I thought for a minute maybe they would have a step back early on. Maybe Oregon would be gettable. Maybe Oregon would come in and give them a game. It was 49-3. That Georgia defense didn't rebuild. They just reloaded, and that's a scary proposition for college football. Alabama, we know, is number one. We'll get to Ohio State in a minute at number two. Georgia at 3 looked every bit of the part of a team who is going to defend their national championship. My guy Jesse Palmer yesterday in studio said it a couple of times. It's the best he'd seen Stetson Bennett play ever. Stetson seems like he's 27 and he's been in college football for a decade. But Georgia's going to be scary. That is a scary football team that took all those 5 stars they've had waiting to come in and play and made a statement yesterday, 49-3 over Oregon. So Georgia, cheers. Maybe anyone thought that you'd have a down week. Wrong. They're dominant. The primetime game, couple of them. Let's start with the one that was on ESPN, the one that we did pregame show and halftime for, Utah and Florida. It was the debut of Billy Napier at the Swamp. Comes over from Louisiana, has expectations to get Florida back to where we're used to seeing him, has a quarterback in Anthony Richardson. And in comes Utah. Utah coming off historic heights a year ago. They win the Pac-12. They go to the Rose Bowl in that game against Ohio State, which is one of the great Rose Bowls we've ever seen. Cam Rising's back at quarterback. They've got the running back back. They've got everything you need to go into the Swamp and get the win. But they went in there, played good football, played Utah football, fundamentally sound. Didn't seem as if early on, and even throughout the game, that the atmosphere was too big for them. That ended up being a really, really good football game with Florida holding on late with an interception as Utah was driving to get the win. Anthony Richardson had just taken Florida down the field to score the go-ahead touchdown. Utah had an opportunity, and Florida's defense stepped up late to get Billy Napier his first win as Florida's head coach. And it was just good, clean football. I'll say this about Utah. They might be, aside from USC, I mean, they played Rice, so we just don't know what USC is yet. But Utah, we thought, was the Pac-12's best opportunity to get to the playoff. That, I don't think, is dead, but it's certainly not looking good for the Pac-12. Utah's still a really good football team. But Florida with Billy Napier, you just have to give your fans something to look forward to, just that glimmer of hope. And I think they did that. And I think Billy did that in week one, especially with Anthony Richardson, just making a second career start at Florida. That kid is talented. They are going to be a good football team. Billy recruits well. So Florida has every bit of the reason to be excited about this. And Utah, coaches say all the time, I know Dan Lanning said it after their loss to Georgia, and I would imagine Kyle Whittingham's feeling the same way about Utah. Everything's still in front of you in terms of a conference championship. There's so much football to be played. You don't know how it's going to happen in front of you. But at least after week one, the Pac-12 embarrassed with the Oregon-Georgia loss, and then looks good with Utah and how they fought at the Swamp, but chalk another one out for the SEC against the Pac-12 with Florida getting their opening season win at home. So congratulations, Billy Napier. Congratulations to all my Gator fans. And that takes us to the big one at the Horseshoe last night, Ohio State and Notre Dame. This had all the hype. I said it on College Football Final that maybe this is one of those games that Vegas got wrong. And I say that because coming in, I believe the line closed at 17.5. Somewhere around there. So when we see that as college football fans, we're thinking, well, hell, it's going to be a blowout. Ohio State's going to do whatever they want to Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame. And I think all of us, I was guilty of it. I didn't think it'd be that good of a game. Yeah, but Notre Dame showed up and played well. Offensively, I don't think they're where they need to be yet. Tyler Buckner, his first career start, wasn't effective. I think as effective as he can be with Tommy Rees in that offense. Credit Jim Knowles in Ohio State, the new defensive coordinator. They look a lot better than they did a year ago. But you look at the final score, 21-10. And I think Ryan Day said it in his post-game press conference. Someone had asked about the struggles of the offense. He said, I refuse to answer that as my first question because we just beat the number 5 team in the country. And he's right. Notre Dame is ranked 5th. I am guilty as charged of saying, well, maybe Notre Dame was a little overrated. Maybe that rating was for TV, so we could say 2 versus 5. Notre Dame's got a hell of a defense. Al Golden comes in as defensive coordinator. We know Marcus Freeman as a defensive-minded coach. He was the Irish's defensive coordinator a year ago. And yeah, C.J. Stroud wasn't great. Made some big third down throws, threw 2 touchdowns on third down. Jackson Smith and Jigba was banged up. They didn't get a lot from the stars like we suspected. But the fact of the matter is this, they got the win. They played a top-line defense in Notre Dame. Jesse Palmer was talking about before how Notre Dame's defensive front is as good as any in the country, and he was right. So 21-10 to get the win. They've had all offseason to talk about it. They have to talk about how big this game was. And Notre Dame goes in there, plays well. But Ohio State, if you cannot have your best, and think about this for a minute if you're the Buckeyes, if you cannot have your best and still go in and get a win at home, against a talented Notre Dame team, you're going into week 2 feeling really good about yourself. So that was the marquee game yesterday, the one that we had built up. That's where College Game Day was. By the way, shout out and cheers. There's a couple Bloody Marys yesterday in Columbus to the College Game Day crew and the fans that were on site. There was some severe weather in the area, and they were able to go off without a hitch. So I'll scroll through my phone for some scores. Anything else that I want to touch on? Again, very interactive. If you guys want to get in, hit me up on social media. We can recap any games you want, share some Bloody Mary mixes. Here's a good one. I want to touch on Arkansas, Cincinnati. Cincinnati and Luke Fickell come in. Sauce Gardner off to the NFL. Desmond Ridder winning as quarterback. Leaves Cincinnati all-time in wins, touchdowns, yardage. The quarterback now with the Atlanta Falcons. Jerome Ford, the talented running back, he's off to the NFL. Some of the receivers are gone. I wondered what Cincinnati would have and who they had to come in and compete in a game in Fayetteville against KJ Jefferson, Sam Pittman, and an Arkansas team that comes in with a lot of hype. This game was 31-24 Arkansas. Give Cincinnati a lot of credit. Ben Bryant, new starting quarterback, started shaky, found a way to get himself back into the game and get Cincinnati back in the game. I really believe if you look at it, and Cincinnati will, that they're going to see that they had numerous opportunities to not only get back in this game, but win the game. But Arkansas gets the win at home. KJ Jefferson looks a little slimmed down from a year ago, and he looked good. He was gimpy a little bit throughout the game, but those are the games. If you come in, they had 9 wins last year. That's 4 more than KJ's had in his first 2 years in Arkansas. So when you come in with hype, you lose Treylon Burks to the NFL, there's going to be people watching because I think Fayetteville, Arkansas, and the rest of the SEC West is wondering if they're worthy of the hype. And I'd say through week 1, it looked good. Their schedule is going to indicate how good of a team they're going to be. But if you get Cincinnati, who's going to come in and punch you, which they did, credit to Sam Pittman and Woo Pig for getting that win at home. We'll wrap up with a couple of debuts. Lincoln Riley, USC, they smacked down Rice. I don't think anyone's expected any different there, rather. He brought in some stars. Caleb Williams from Oklahoma, Jordan Addison from Pitt. They combined for the first touchdown for USC to make it 7-0. Another debut, Oklahoma, Brent Venables and Dylan Gabriel. They get the win 45-13. And Mario Cristobal at Miami hung 70 on Bethune-Cookman. Second highest scoring game in a debut or in a season opener, rather, for Miami. 70 points there. They get the win. And just when you thought Nick Saban and Alabama couldn't make any more history under Nick Saban, 55-0, biggest margin of victory in a season opener in the Nick Saban era. And that's obviously a big game for Alabama. Bryce Young with some of those transfers, Jermaine Burton, because now next week they've got the huge one against Texas, and Steve Sarkisian, Quinn Ewers, they got the win yesterday on Saturday as well. And I don't think anybody, at least from Texas's perspective in their game, showed much. Bijan Robinson had a nice game. Ewers threw 2 touchdown passes after throwing an interception on his second pass. And so a lot of these schools that weren't in the marquee matchups got through their wins, played some good football to get to week 2. So I love it. I love that we're back. I love the first Saturdays in the books. Had a great time on College Football Final with Jesse and Joey. We handed out some helmet stickers. We handed out some dollars. The fun started on Thursday for me out in Pitt. Hope you guys enjoyed those videos we showed with Lewis and bringing you guys inside those facilities. And a remarkable job they're doing at Pittsburgh. So remember, Sunday Bloody Sunday, it's going to be a tradition unlike any other. If you like spicy Bloody Marys, tell me. If you've got a toothpick of greatness, tell me. We're going to do this together. It's very therapeutic for you, the college football fan, and me, the college football host, to get out here on a Sunday morning and recap what was an awesome Saturday of college football. Remember, I want to hear from you. The Twitter at Matt Barrie, Barrie. The Instagram at Matt Barrie, ESPN. The TikTok, sorry, I don't do it. Not a big TikTok guy. Everyone's on TikToks. It's like, oh, it takes too much time. Yeah, I don't have that. I have just enough time for you, my job, and to make Bloody Marys. So from the first Saturday on, we're going to do this all the way through December. Cheers and a happy first Sunday, Bloody Sunday.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.